Well, we're back from our break. Thanks for joining us. We're on now to the government portion of our show. And Nick, you've got a really fascinating guest.
Yes, I do. Yes, in government, there's something that impacts our viewers. My guest will be Senator Hugh T. Farley. He's the senator from the 44th District in New York State. He's the #2 senior senator in the state of New York. He's going to be talking about the Medicaid relief bill. And that's a bill that would relieve county taxpayers of millions of dollars of costs where the state does not pay for it now. So it would be a phased-in program over a number of years, but it'll give great tax relief to our taxpayers.
That's something that we're going to definitely all want to be stayed in tune for. So this next.
Welcome to Impact. I'm Nick Barber, your host for the government segment. This is our first show in the government segment, and I have the extreme honor of having a very special guest with me today. He is Senator Hugh T. Farley from the 44th Senate District. Senator Farley is a senior senator in New York State. Welcome, Senator Farley.
Nice to be with you, Nick.
Thanks for coming. Are you #2 in seniority?
Yeah, I'm #2 in seniority.
That's terrific.
Means I'm getting old.
Oh, no, you're getting better. You've done a lot for this community.
Well,
we appreciate you being with us here today at our first show.
Well, it's my pleasure. We go back a long ways.
Yes, we do. And I want to thank you on behalf of Impact and the community for all that you've done for this region over the years. We appreciate all your good work. Senator, what's new in New York State today? What are the hot topics?
There's several things. I'll start with just one that I came out with just the other day. You know, all the years I've been in, they've been complaining about the cost of Medicaid. Counties, it raises real property taxes in the upstate counties unrealistically. And I have sponsored, because I thought it was unrealistic, a bill that would have the state take over the total cost of Medicaid over an 8-year period.
Oh.
It's phased in, and it freezes it in the first year. And I think it's realistic, and I've signed on to it, and I'd love to see that happen because, you know, that can do something about the real property taxes in upstate New York, which are oppressive, to say the least.
Real property taxes are probably the #1 issue on taxpayers' minds.
And Medicaid costs are the things that really drive those county taxes.
Yes.
You know, we put in a 2% cap, which I believe in and the people wanted, but maybe now we can really get some reduction in real estate taxes and make upstate New York competitive.
I know the counties have wanted this for a long time. I think Schenectady County in the 2012 budget, Medicaid costs will be about $35 million.
It's
and that's a
unbelievable.
lot of money out of a relatively small county. But the phased-in approach is probably a practical way to do it.
Yes, because it would be such a tremendous hit on New York State otherwise. And I think this is realistic. There's a lot of people that are signing on to it. Incidentally, 66% of all the Medicaid money is spent in New York City, which is kind of surprising. And that's where all the fraud is and all the problems with Medicaid, in my judgment. So we have to get after that part of it. We've got to get our arms around Medicaid and reduce the costs of it, too.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. And that will impact our viewers as far as property taxes.
Huge.
That's a big impact, as we say.
That's a huge impact.
What else is going on? Before the show, we were talking about a big bill or a big proposal.
Well, this is a very big proposal, and I was honored that the governor asked me to be one of the 4 speakers. It took place at the Empire State Plaza that announced a $4.4 private investment, $4.4 billion
with a B,
billion investment by the private industry in New York State in the nanotech, high-tech area throughout the state. And it'll be over 4,000 jobs, 800 of them right here in the Capital District at the Nanotech College. And it's really remarkable. We have become the high-tech center of the United States. And it all comes about as a result of the Nanotech College in Albany, and also the high-tech, the chip factory, largest in the world up there in Malta. Things are really happening in this area. But if you can imagine $4.4 billion of private investment throughout the state, It covers upstate New York and the Catskills everywhere, and I think it's really outstanding, and that can really make a difference. And those are good jobs. They estimate that of these jobs, they'll all be 100,000 or more.
Boy, when people hear jobs, their ears perk up, because you know in this economy, job creation is very important. So this would go a long ways to creating jobs. And about 25%, if you said 800 jobs in this region, that would be about 25% in competition with New York City. Let's face it, New York City's a bigger geographic area. But that's a pretty good return.
Incidentally,
for
none
upstate.
of this investment goes to New York City, surprisingly.
It does not?
No, no.
Oh, it's all upstate?
It's, well, there's also Yorktown Heights, which is in Westchester County, and Rochester area and so forth, but all over the state. And that's as it should be, some in Binghamton. But, you know, as upset as I am, and I don't mean to get partisan, is how the United States is doing, I think New York State is doing some things right. We passed a budget on time with no new taxes, and I think that's, with a $10 billion deficit, that's quite a hole to fill, and put in a 2% cap on taxes and how much they can go up. I know that local government is kind of squeezing and complaining a little bit about that, but the people want it. They've had enough of taxes. And let's hope we can turn this state around.
I think it's a great idea. I think they're adapting, municipalities are adapting to the 2% cap. It's almost like culture shock.
Yes, it is.
Because there were no limits before.
That's right.
And it's a good thing.
I think it's a great thing, and 85% of the general public want it. And I know that there's some people that feel it's not realistic, but it is realistic. We've had enough tax and spend, and it's time to get our house in order. We're the highest tax state in the nation, and that's got to cease.
Is there any proposals or any discussion of the revamping of the real property taxation system that you're aware of?
Well,
I mean, you know, it's been like local control. The state doesn't really levy property taxes, but still the tax cap is a good beginning to get involved in the real property tax.
You see, the trouble of it is New York is not a homogeneous state. New York City, where 40% of our population lives, real property taxes are not an issue. They don't pay very much. They all live in rent-controlled apartments and so forth, and they've got a great tax base, and unfortunately, they like real property taxes. So we have a divergent opinion. But real property taxes are a killer in the suburbs. Boy, if you saw the real property taxes in Westchester, in Long Island, if you think they're high here, it just blows your mind. And we've got to balance that inequity. Now, with a Medicaid takeover, that means that the income tax is going to have to pay more.
Oh, I see.
And quite frankly, New York City pays more in income taxes because salaries are higher down there. So we're a diverse state, to say the least.
Yes.
And divergent issues in both houses. The Senate Republicans tend to represent the upstate areas, and the Assembly tends to represent the downstate areas.
Yes, but we're still one of the greatest states, New York State.
I think it's a great place. That's right.
Yeah.
I think it's a great place to live, and I think we're doing things right. I'll give Governor Cuomo kudos for some of the things that he's doing. And incidentally, he's a personal friend.
Well, coming from the other side of the aisle, I think that's a great compliment. But a lot of people are saying good things about Governor Cuomo and his bravery, I guess I'd say, and his resolve.
That's right.
And is he working with you as a Republican leader? Is he working with both sides of the aisle?
He took our agenda, the Republican Senate's agenda, and made it part of his manifesto for running for governor. He really did, and admits it, and because he said it was right. And I admire him on that, and he's a stand-up guy in that area, and he's done things that have been very, very difficult. And
I'm sorry.
That's all right, and he brought the Assembly along.
How many governors have you worked with in your career as senator?
Let's see, Governor Carey, Governor Cuomo, and Governor Patterson, and of course Pataki, and Andrew, Governor Andrew Cuomo. 5 of them.
So you've seen a lot of different styles of leadership, huh?
Poor Governor Patterson, I'll just tell you.
Sure, go ahead.
He was, He had kind of a rough road, but I liked him and I knew him. And I remember he was the minority leader in the Senate for a long time.
Yes.
And I was talking to him towards the end of his term on the phone. He called me at home and he said, "You were always the senator that I wanted to be." And I thought that was quite a compliment from Governor Patterson. Remarkable guy, blind.
Yes.
And his facile mind and the memory. You know, he gave those speeches ad lib. Oh,
yeah.
I thought he was incredible that way.
Well, Senator, you know what? It's so good to see you, but we're running out of time. I can't believe it. I want to thank you so much for coming to be our first guest on Impact Government segment. And we wish you well. We want to thank you. Good luck with the Medicaid relief bill, and also with that big proposal that the governor has asked you to serve on for job creation.
I wish your program well. I'm going to be watching it, and I think it's outstanding what you're doing, Nick, and you're my buddy.
Well, we hope that you come back again. Thank you. Senator Hugh T. Farley, 44th Senate District. Thanks for coming, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nick, that was a very informative interview. You know, I'd be really curious to see what the people out there have to say about Medicaid tax relief.